the Helicoptero took a while for me. Okay, it was a brain fuck. I didn't know what to do. So in this video, I try to give all of these nice little tips and cues that could be super helpful for you to achieve it. Now already, as you know, in this program, we learned a couple things before, so now we can apply them here in the Helicoptero. Especially important is the leg swiping mechanism and then the exiting mechanism. If you can do for the Helicoptero the landing motion, you don't need to focus on it now in the learning aspect, but it already happens. Now the landing can either be done in a heli on both legs or on one leg. For the both leg version, basically what you need is simply this basic forward arch. If you can land like this, you can land a heli with two legs, or you need to be able to do a reversal, so you can do it with one leg landing. So this one right here, okay? So if you can do a forward arch and if you can do a reversal, sorta, then already you have taken care of the landing part of the Helicoptero. Now the leg swiping part is very closely resembled to a coin. So we already figured out this coin motion right here, right? So if you can already do this, now it will be much easier to learn the Helicoptero. First things first, let's look at one major fault that people who want to learn the Helicoptero are doing at the start. We look at it now because it's so important that we need to focus on it for the rest of the video. So in a Helicoptero, it's not like in a cartwheel where you continuously shift the weight from one side to the other side, right? The hips in a cartwheel, they go up and over towards the other side. If you do it in a Helicoptero, you will crash down. Your hips travel too fast and you can't control the leg swirl, okay? Imagine the Helicoptero like a cartwheel, but you need time for this extra leg swipe. And the time comes by slowing down the cartwheel, momentarily standing in a handstand. So what people lack who fall down like this is this brief second of waiting so you can swirl the legs, so then you can go down. So at first, before really jumping into the heli, let's try to figure out a little bit a swing up to handstand into a straddle handstand. Okay, you can do it two ways. Either you go from sideways into a straddle handstand like this, or you go forwards into a straddle handstand, right? Important for this straddle handstand, we do not want to do it open straddled, but we want to keep the hips tucked close in. So this one right here. If you cannot hold a handstand, no worries at all. You can also practice it simply momentarily. But being able to go into a cartwheel and stopping for a brief second in this tuck handstand position. To make it clear, when you're going now into a cartwheel and you can stop it, this stop gives you now the time to find this leg spin in your Helicoptero, okay? So, going into the move, stopping, you have time for the leg swipe, and then you continue. Next up, let's try to focus on finding this nice swiveling motion that we have in a Helicoptero. The first drill that we're focusing on is basically going into your cartwheel, already focusing on this mini stop at the top that we practiced before, and then pulling the leg that is going up into cartwheel back again just a little bit, while the other leg folds over. It looks like this. Broken down Helicoptero. I go into my cartwheel, I keep my straddle, and I really try to search for this very nice big changing of my legs. Left leg goes up and comes back again. In a cartwheel it would land here. Now I try to have it land there, so about where I started the whole move all together. Starting, going, pulling back, and now from here I simply swipe up and over. And if you practice this and it becomes more fluid, it's a very nice movement per se, and it's already very nice to understand the basic start of the heli. boom, focusing on the swivel, but this time instead of landing on the first leg, we land on the second leg and take a fall on purpose. This is usually what happens at the start, that you fall down with a Helicoptero, and this is fine for now because we somehow need to focus on the swiveling motion of the legs. Going into cartwheel, finding this brief stop that we practiced before, all the way through and landing now on the other leg, taking a relatively soft entry into the floor. Now, quick note, if you start to practice this and you find yourself that when you watch the recordings of your video, that your leg is not doing a swivel but simply kind of like switches over, then it's quite normal, and it also happened to me. So we can now focus on a couple of things. A, remember the thing that we practiced before. Pulling your leg back a little bit more, this one right here. Up and over. And there's a useful drill, and it involves a bottle. And we can now place the bottle and try to kick the bottle away with this top leg. This will now forces us to really go up and down again, focusing on kicking the bottle. Now for this intermediate step of the Helicoptero, we can use one of the favorite props for learning acrobatics, the bench, okay? It gives us opportunity to place the hands on an elevated surface, giving us more time in the air, more upright position, so it's also less scary. So now let's try to take a look at it. Let's try to embrace already what we had before, this leg swirling motion that we really need to find here. Try to make it as big as you can, but of course with practice it will get bigger and bigger. So also it's okay if it's just a small one. Alright, now when practicing on the bench, at first I tried to focus on simply getting the idea of the swipe. So landing still on my first leg until I can figure out how I can swipe it through. And for me really what helps is trying to get the hips very high so you can support better with your hands, right? So pushing into the bench, keeping the hips high, and then finding this nice swipe through motion. Sometimes I pop out of it, sometimes I step out of it. So really the bench is there for you to experience and practice in a very low stress environment. As you can see here, getting smoother and smoother with every repetition. And of course you can also find an even higher bench just to make it super easy, but still you want to be able to support with your hands. Now after our immediate step of trying now the Helicoptero on an elevated surface, let's try to put it back again onto the floor. So this time we go into Heli, we try to find as much as possible our swiping leg motion, and then we try to land on both legs more or less at the same time, so we can directly stand up into stand, basically using the basic forward arch. It looks like this. Now this picture really shows a very beautiful position. Towards the end, I'm fully on my second supporting arm and I keep pushing up, up, up. The leg is still swiping, the other one is about to land, but I'm still pushing up, and this is so crucial, otherwise you will crash down. So really making sure from the first arm onto the second arm, you really want to have all your weight there and you can support yourself as long as possible. At this stage, please do not worry about making it super soft or making the swiping motion of your leg super big. It's really about figuring out how you can do the swiping motion and take it into a relatively soft landing, okay? The rest really will come with practice. So do not focus on straight legs. Do not focus on a very nice big swirling motion. It could be also just very small, but you want to feel it. And also right here in this step, really try to see how the leg that is swiping down and up again gives this nice moment of elevation where you can push in your shoulders to stand up, okay? So it's really helping also. It's not just something beautiful that is happening, but it is helping me to go up again. Now we have reached a state in the Helicoptero where you now simply need to put everything that you have learned into practice. Finding this brief stop in a handstand, giving time for this nice swirl, this time really focusing on landing first with your contra leg and then maybe only with the second leg until you can do it all the way so you can land fully on one leg. But this really can take weeks and months to practice, okay? So do not get frustrated and already keep in mind that a two-leg landing Helicoptero is something beautiful. The Helicoptero is nice. It takes a while to practice, so we can also think about variation that do not need the full Helicoptero, so we can still enjoy ourselves. And one of them is doing the heli, but then trying to see if you can find a kind of nicer pop out of the heli, like we already practiced before in the backwards Jaguar. What happens if we take the Helicoptero into a low landing, but then kick into kind of like a macaco? Alrighty, that was a nice session, and I hope that you found some useful tools in this video. Now, as always, if you appreciate these videos, then please make sure to like them. Maybe write a comment if you want to see similar videos, if you have any questions, and also subscribe to this channel. This year I really want to push my YouTube channel, produce much more high quality videos about all things movements, from movement breakdowns, from acrobatics, injuries, how to deal with injuries, mobility training, strengthening your body, all of that. Also, if you want to learn more and you don't want to simply watch the YouTube videos, check out the workshops that I'm teaching. There's physical workshops probably close to where you are living. Also, I offer online programs, Finding Flow online programs, learning how to use acrobatics on the floor, diving into the floor, playing with creativity and all of that. There's many different online programs available in my online shop, neilteisner.shop. You can check it out, all info in the description. And yeah, if you watch these YouTube videos, you will even get a 10% discount. Simply apply the code YouTube10 at the end of the checkout process in the online shop, and you can benefit from this discount. All right.